The first running back went off the board to the Carolina Panthers, who traded up for Jonathon Brooks. I'm grouping this as a fit we love, Charles. Not a lot of great running back landing spots in this year's draft. It wasn't a big time class, but even some of the guys, we'll talk about them later on here in the meh for fantasy section for sure. Not a lot of these guys went to the depth charts that people were hoping for, right? Like, oh, somebody's going to moonwalk to an RB1 role in Dallas. Somebody's going to moonwalk to an RB1 role with the Chargers. That didn't happen. Instead, Jonathon Brooks, who was the consensus top running back in the class, goes to the Carolina Panthers. And Charles, you can heat check me on this one, but I loved this fit. Say what you want about trading up for running backs and blah, 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 blah. I get that. But this is a head coach in Dave Canales who has said over and over and over again he wants to be stubborn with the run game, right? He wants to run the ball. Even at times last year, I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were stubborn with the run game. They were a lot on early down runs. So if that's what he wants to be, his philosophy, you want to keep Bryce Young on schedule, you add these big guards in free agency. I know I'm going to sound like a Chuba Hubbard hater, but like you just don't do that. Like say all that, make those investments in the offensive line, and then like, cool, we're rolling out Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders again. I think you need a needle moving back, and when healthy, which is not going to be early in the season, but eventually, I think Jonathon Brooks is a needle moving back.
Man, I have done like a total 180 on this pick since, and maybe this is just me working way too much and overthinking things, but I don't like it the more I think about it.
Really?
Yeah. And it's got nothing to do with trading for a running back, because I think they needed one pretty badly. And quite honestly, I think, I think a lot of this relies on Icky, the left tackle, coming back into form that he looked like as a rookie, where he was really bad last year. Yeah. And if that's good, then, that offense, that run game, I should say, should run itself to a degree. But when I watched Jonathon Brooks, I rewatched him again on Friday night, and I was like, man, I feel like he's just like solid without like any one bang trait that gets you really excited. And I get a little worried, like, okay, so if he's not like really a burner, he's coming off an ACL, what does that look like? And you traded up, like, I don't think trading up for a running back is necessarily bad. Trading up for this running back feels risky. And really, I feel like the whole Panthers draft felt very risky to me. Trading up for Xavier Leggett. Fair. You're going, trading up for Jonathon Brooks, Jatavion Sanders in the 4th round. I don't know. It just felt like a lot of guys where we're getting one big end of the pendulum or the other. I do think Jonathon Brooks will probably be a pretty solid back. I just don't know if he's got like the game-breaking ability where you feel like you need to trade up for him off an ACL.
Yeah, the coming off the ACL thing is tough, but I will say...
He could be fine, too.
I'll bring up the name Breece Hall, right? For both of these, both of the things you're talking about here. The Jets caught a lot of flack for trading up for Breece Hall, right? And like, look, again, have the Jets been good? No, but Breece Hall is a good pick, right? Like they haven't been bad because Breece Hall, it didn't work out, right? He's been like the least of their problems. And, again, similar sort of draft range here. And he's a guy that has shown you, okay, if you have a pretty clean ACL tear, you get it done, you get it fixed. Like you can be not just an effective back, but like a damn good dynamic back by the end of the first season off this injury. And look, like the Panthers aren't going to be ready to compete. No. So like right now, so if Jonathon Brooks is ready to rock in 25 and 26 and beyond, I think this can end up being an okay pick. But I do hear your point that from a team building perspective, I'm kind of mixed on this draft because like Xavier Leggett is a but by the way, it's Leggett, right? He let us know.
I missed that if he did say that.
He whatever. Anyways, Leggett's a risky pick in round 1, right? And trading up for him, like instead of just sticking and picking at 33, I mean, it just makes him a first round pick. I think it adds that pressure to him. I do like what Dave Canales has said about how he's going to use Xavier Leggett. Like, I think that's good. He sounds like he's got the right plan, not just like, okay, we're going to throw him out at X receiver and see what happens. We're not going to Jonathan Mingo this guy, basically. But again, risky pick. Jonathon Brooks, there's some risk to it. And we debated this on the draft show, but I don't love when teams like Carolina try to balance out the strength of the roster. I know this is going to make me just sound like like a fantasy dork, but like I would have loved for them to just basically throw like every pick on offense. Taking like a linebacker in round 3, taking a bunch of defensive guys with their final 3 picks. I would rather just like throw everything at the offense and try to get Bryce Young to work, because that defense was solid last year. So I'm with you that I think Carolina had a risky draft overall, high risk, maybe high reward type. But I just think the pick of Jonathon Brooks makes sense to me.
I mean, all these picks could work out, and I'm with you on the strategy, dude. Like, you're so far away. You're so far away on and just being in general, being like a playoff team. Like, if you couldn't really compete in the 2023 NFC South, I think that says a lot about where you are. It's not going to be rebuilt in one day. But, I do think Panthers fans should feel good about the strides they've made on offense. You have a credible offensive line. Your wide receiver room has gotten better. Deontay Johnson and Xavier Leggett, that's, way better than what you're doing last year. I've seen people be like, maybe this is going to sound mean, but I've seen people be like, hey, what about Jonathan Mingo? I'm like, who cares about that? Like
totally.
That's not a factor anymore.
Yep. I got that same response, right, when Joe talking about the Xavier Leggett stuff, and it's kind of like
they traded for Deontay Johnson.
We'll see.
And drafted receiver in the first round, and Adam Thielen's still there. I think that says everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, like I've said this all the time, but Jonathan Mingo projects best into Adam Thielen's role. Maybe you just spend this year trying to get him developed there, and maybe if you get some good signs and signals from him in the offseason and kind of as an end of roster receiver, maybe you think about him in that Adam Thielen role next year, or maybe even at the end of the season if Thielen starts to run out of gas. But like, that's so far down saving Jonathan Mingo is so far down the priority list for this Panthers coaching staff, which I have liked a lot of what they've said, and I'm interested to see this experiment play out.